ready.
Hi, and welcome to another installment of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I'm your host, Cuddy Cudworth, the UK's leading mind management coach, self-titled Fran, self-titled. I'll have you know on that one. As if you've watched another podcast, you'll realise why I call myself the leading mind management coach. So today is going to be a fascinating conversation, and it's definitely in the realm of the Mind Management Mentors podcast, because I'm a big believer of if it's in the mind, it can be managed. And to be fair, trauma pops up an awful lot of time. And I often see that people maybe don't understand how common trauma is, how unaddressed trauma turns up in those sabotaging behaviors. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And we've got a cracking guest. I'm not going to say your full name. I'm just going to say Fran. However, I would like you to pronounce your name so that I don't offend you, as I did for the first 3 times I couldn't pronounce the last name. So introduce
Thank you.
yourself, tell us what you do, where you're from, as if you were on blind date.
Oh, thank you, Cuddy. This is amazing. My name is Fran Nguyan, and I live in Suffolk. And I am able to be a trauma counsellor because I have gone through shit myself. My ex-husband was a Vietnamese boat person. And in the 1980s, we didn't talk about PTSD, did we?
No.
But I discovered that's what he's got. And he'd had it all along, but he didn't talk about it. He never opened up about stuff in the past. And then one day in 2006, he was stationary at traffic lights. He was driving his brand new Toyota Prado, of which he was extremely proud. He'd fitted it all out to be his mobile office. He'd got all his computer gear and everything there. And this woman came up behind him, bang, hit him from behind at 90 kph, and it caused a 5-car pile-up. But what he heard was a bomb going off. And all the stuff that he had shoved down and not addressed suddenly imploded. And I got a different man. He didn't know what to do with himself. He'd suddenly got all these video loops going round and round and round in his head, overplaying stuff. And he saw people running at him. He saw people being shot. He saw all sorts of stuff happening in his mind, and he couldn't turn it off. That's why I do what I do, because I've learned how to turn it off.
That's a powerful reason why, straight there. Normally you actually went straight in, because I always say there's a tipping point when coaches, counselors, therapists become something. There's a tipping point. Boom, boom, there it is. Tipping point. And you said husband past tense, is that right?
He's not my husband anymore. It was not safe to stay with him, I'm afraid to say.
Right. Okay. But this has took you on this journey for wanting to understand it and to help others to be able to resolve their trauma.
Absolutely. And to see people get their joy back, because I called him my joy stealer.
Oh, bless you. Oh God, I don't even know you that well, and even I'm right into the story there. Oh, bless you, Fran. Bless you. Right. Well, we'll move straight past that, but at least we know why that Fran is definitely. So for somebody listening to this or watching this, because it's all on video, they're going to be like, well, how do I know if I've got PTSD?
Because you're not feeling safe inside, or something might trigger you to have a response. Like I've got a hypervigilance. I'm super alert. I don't know where this next danger is coming from. So that's what they're reacting to, is where am I safe? How can I keep myself safe? So it's an unconscious core belief. You may not realize that's what you're doing, but that's what you're doing.
Right, and I think your cable is touching on something. Is your speaker cable touching on something?
Might be.
Yeah, I can just hear it slightly.
I will adjust that. There you go. Is that better?
That's it. It's gone. Thank God for that. Perfect. Perfect. Right, now this is the subject, because someone is... a lot of people don't know what PTSD is, what it is. You are today's expert, Fran. You've touched about on that core belief, but how we were made to feel in the moment, the brain overgeneralizes, and we bring that forward and through with us without realizing, right?
Often without realizing, yes.
Yeah, often without realizing.
I mean, if you've got somebody like some of my clients who've been ex-military,
Yeah.
They have had some CBT and some EMDR, and it hasn't helped.
Yeah.
Whereas the modality I use is called the Richards Trauma Process, TRTP, and it works if the client wants to be well. I'll just put that in big capital letters.
That's what we have to. It's always the same, isn't it? When we're counseling, coaching, therapizing, it's everything works if we're open, susceptible, and want it to work. If we don't want it to work, guess what?
It
It's not going to
ain't going
work.
to work.
No. And I've never heard of that process. So we're going to come back to that process because for anyone listening to this and they go, oh, I've been doing CBT and it's not working. And a lot of people don't realize that the CBT doesn't work on the limbic system. It doesn't work on the trauma side of the brain because trauma is stored in a completely different part somatically as well. And a lot of people will be like, well, CBT, no, because that's logical. CBT takes out the irrational into the logical, but that's not where trauma is stored. So deep dive that a little bit, Fran.
I'm going to give you a quick testimonial from a client that I had who was very traumatized by the consultants he was working with. So he was learning to be a GP and doing the rotations through the hospital system. He got PTSD from the consultants. He wrote this: I have PTSD and I have tried CBT and EMDR and TRTP. And if I had to describe the difference between these three treatment modalities, I would say CBT targets the conscious mind. EMDR targets both the conscious and subconscious mind somewhat effectively, whilst TRTP targets only the subconscious mind and does so effectively. Trauma, in my experience, is like a virus infecting a laptop. If it infects one or two programs, then all you need to do is uninstall those programs and then reinstall them, and that's what CBT and EMDR do. But what happens if the virus infects the entire operating system? What if now your laptop works but glitches often? What do? You need to reformat the laptop and install a new operating system, and that's what TRTP does.
Wow. Now, I've never heard of this, so this is excellent.
Thank you.
So, and you said this is, I love the concept, by the way, love the concept. And you said this is Richardson's TRTP process.
It's called the Richards Trauma Process because a lady called Judith Richards put it together. She's gone through her own personal hell. And when she was sitting in the back end of New South Wales, feeling very sorry for herself because nothing was helping, then she thought back over the years that she had had some therapy, some treatment. And the doctors have said to her, we can put your body back together again, but we can't put your mind back.
Mm-hmm.
She thought, well, this bit worked and that bit helped. So she rethought through a whole bunch of stuff and she decided that if I put this together, then this will help people. So she put the TRTP process together, and it is a process. It's a step-by-step 1, 2, 3 process. I do see people for 5 sessions. So I do an introductory session. I do TRTP 1, 2, and 3, and a follow-up session a month later to make sure that things are going well and that nothing else has popped up to trigger something else. Shouldn't, but we hopefully it won't be fine.
Absolutely love this. So I love the fact that we're talking about anywhere between 3 to 5 sessions as well. So because there's that age-old concept, because I don't do many sessions with people. A lot of people don't, and they're like, well, how come you only do it in like 3, 4 sessions? I'm like, actually, we can get a lot resolved in 1 or 2 sessions, then the rest is the follow-up. Because and I find that fascinating. So when we get in that conversation out into the world, actually, you don't have to be years in therapy. Because actually, what I thought we were going to talk about today is the difference between counseling and coaching. But this is a much better subject, to be fair. So
I'm glad you're loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's for anybody watching this, because a lot of people don't know they have PTSD, and I found that fascinating that you said that one of your clients, you know, trauma can be defined as the big T's and the little T's. Because I talk about trauma a lot in my networking group, and a lot of them will sit there and go, well, I haven't got trauma. I'm like, well, let me share a trauma that I have that I didn't know was a trauma, but I know it's a trauma. I got pissed on when I was a child. Because I was climbing a tree, and it just so happened that the person at the top of the tree was busting to go to the toilet. I was at the bottom of the tree climbing up, and he peed on me. And I went, that made me think, oh, my friends are always going to piss on me. So that now we have a schema, we have a thought process, and we have a generalization. So then I'm going to be more wary of friends moving forward, going, well, actually, are they going to piss on me? Are they going to piss on me? Metaphorically. But I said, technically, that's my trauma. So, but I resolved it. We've moved past that. And that simple comment, well, that's not trauma. That's not sexual abuse. So you've not been in a war or anything like that. And I'm like, that's what you've got to understand about traumatic experience. So for that gentleman working in, I'm guessing, the National Health Service, which again, we're not bashing the NHS, but it's how we perceive a certain action towards us that creates the trauma inside, right? It's how we were made to feel. So deep dive that, Fran.
This is what we call unconscious core beliefs.
Yes.
So when, say, for example, a child is being brought up by a not very helpful parent, and they say, you're a piece of shit.
Yes.
You're never going to amount to anything. What's that now got into that child's brain?
Yeah.
I'm not worth anything.
Yeah.
So then they walk around with this concept in their mind. Do what you like to me. Walk all over me. Treat me like shit because that's all I'm worth. And what I help people to do is to find that actually I choose to know that my life matters. I am worth something and I can do this. And when you help people to get that concept back into their brain and say, actually, I do need to learn to value myself. I do need to learn that I'm actually worth something. Then I can then have a whole new outlook on the world because I've got something to contribute and I'm worth listening to. When you help people to get that idea, it changes a whole bunch of stuff.
And how many, without overgeneralizing, how many people do you see walking around with that concept, that schema?
It's amazing the number of people that have got that mentality saying, well, you know, I'm no good. I can't do this. You've got the imposter syndrome situation that's going on. I'm not worth anything. You hear people's stories and you go, how can that person have so much shit happening to them? It's because they've got their unconscious core belief that they're not worth anything.
Yeah.
And when you can help them to change that and say, this is actually not true. I am worth a whole lot more than I had understood. And they start appreciating and valuing themselves. Then they look at everything going, well, I've got something to contribute. I'm worth listening to. Look at me. And they can.
I know the things that I do. I want to find out about TRTP. Do people feel that there's a full nervous system reset with this as well? There's like an emotional shift inside. So I remember when I had something done to me years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I actually felt that. It was the right question at the right time that just, my entire nervous system just flushed. It let go. It released.
Yeah. Let me tell you another story, because stories help people to understand really well. I was given a gentleman to come and see me, and he came and see me in person. Never met him before in my life, and he'd been about to jump off a bridge, literally. Talked off the bridge by 2 police women, and then he was given my card by 2 different people, and he came to see me. He sat down in the chair really heavily. Big bloke, ex-army, tats everywhere. Oh, here we go, another bloody counsellor. What fat lot of good is this going to be? Okay, here we go. Go on, off you go. Tell me your story. So I started off with asking him some few questions, found out that he was dyslexic, so I did all the paperwork for him. Then because it was actually needing to be done more quickly, I did the introductory session and the first session all at once. We did the embodied declaration statements that he had to learn, and then we did the guided imagination that we use. And at the end of our 2-hour session, he had a funny look on his face, and I said to him, "What's wrong?" And he said, I'm trying to trigger myself, but I can't. And I said, "Good." He came back the next week. He sat down heavily in the same chair and he said, "I've tried all week to trigger myself and I still can't." I said, "Good. That means my mumbo jumbo stuff's working, isn't it?" "Yeah, I suppose it is." Kind of reluctantly he was, but so much changed for him. and his family could see it. I've seen 5 members of his family.
Wow. Well, were you having to resolve the Tron Reed calls with them?
I think they'd, yes, partly that, partly they'd got some stuff of their own because he'd been treating them like shit.
Yeah. So, like I say, I was going to ask the question of where are you from originally? I can tell with the accent. Are you Australian?
I'm born in England. I've
Right.
lived in Australia for 30 years, so I've got dual nationality.
Yes, I can hear the twang. Brilliant, that's fantastic. Whereabouts in Australia did you live?
I started off life in Melbourne, Victoria. I moved up
Nice.
to Queensland. Queensland's lovely.
Right.
But I lived in Tasmania where my children were all born for about 5 years as well.
Ah, okay. So did you use TRTP on yourself
We
to
have
get
to.
yeah,
Yes,
to get past what happened with your husband, you had to go through that process yourself.
absolutely, yes.
And for anybody listening to this and they're going, "Oh, my husband's going through something." What was the tipping point for you to realize I can't deal with this anymore. This is not a me problem. This is something I have to need to walk away from. Because that's traumatic in itself for someone we've loved and lived with and all those kind of things. What was the tipping point for Fran there?
This is going back to when I started doing my counselling training, and that through that I discovered that my husband had got complex PTSD, which I didn't know really much about at the time. But my children were also suffering, so I was taking my stuff to my supervisor, who was a GP counsellor lecturer. She was a very smart lady. And she said to me, "Why are you still with this man?"
Mm.
Because I was fighting to make my marriage work.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, a leopard can't change his spots. And unless he wants to change, it's not going to happen. It's not going to get any better." And then I thought, okay, if I can't change it and it's getting worse and worse, what do I do about it? So that was the tipping point.
Yeah.
To save us and my children.
And was that a hard journey?
Oh, yes, not easy.
You're
People
very
say,
matter of fact, Fran. You're very matter of fact. You go straight to the point. I love it. I genuinely love it. But even I'm trying to pull something more at you, Fran.
it wasn't easy. When I thought I was trying to make my marriage work because I'm a strong Christian, I wanted things to stay together, and I fought to make it work. I did everything I knew how to make it work. Nothing really helped at all. And my children looked back and said, "Why didn't you leave sooner, Mum?" Because I didn't know how. I didn't know what to do. I mean, if you hear about, "Oh, let's get married," sure. They don't talk about, "Well, let's get divorced." And only the other day I learned about somebody saying, "Well, people have divorce parties now." Well, that wasn't even talked about back then. So, yeah, it wasn't easy. But having done it and made the decision, it wasn't even a relief until we were able to step away completely.
Yeah.
And that took time.
Yeah. So previous to the marriage, can we go back further, Fran?
Sure.
Because surely for Fran to get into a marriage where there was that emotionally charged event, what happened previously for Fran to go into that relationship? Because I'm sure you had some beliefs, some core beliefs that were flying around, of which we all have.
Of course. What happened before was I was a missionary. I worked and lived in a refugee camp in Hong Kong. I did that for 6 years. 2 of those years were with my husband because I'd gone to Australia and we met and married in Australia. And we went back to work in the last refugee camp in Hong Kong. So he'd come from Vietnam via Thai refugee camp to Australia, and I'd come from the UK via Hong Kong refugee camp. We met in Melbourne. And I thought, great, here's somebody who's going to help me to work with the Vietnamese people. That's what I thought. And that's what he said. He agreed. And we went to work in Hong Kong together, and it was all going hunky-dory until he started to help people who were drug addicts, Vietnamese drug addicts, come through the Chinese program. which I'd helped with before.
Mm.
And he was promising things, but then an American couple came in and said he wasn't doing it right. So they trod on his toes and he reacted. His pride was hurt. I don't know if you know about loss of face in Asian culture, big time loss of face. And he never really fully recovered it. And I didn't know how to help him. And then he had his car accident and that made it worse. And then there was nothing I could do.
Mm.
So it was a process.
Yeah, the loss of face thing, I could understand that would be quite traumatic for anybody, to be fair. And we talk about loss of face. That's very similar to a lot of people. Let's use the example of staying in a marriage. Sometimes we want to stay in that marriage. We don't want the loss of the loss of face or the failure of, oh, I'm going to be a divorcee. So we want to stay in that to try and make things work. But that struggle of staying in, it's the balance, isn't it? It's the loss risk reward of, well, do I want to leave this relationship? And it's hard because you don't want to lose face in that either.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true.
Pride.
And you don't. It is a pride thing, I guess, but it's also a core belief. My parents had been married for, well, when my mum died, they'd been married for 60 years. So you've got that rock stability to look at. I didn't have it.
Yeah. And yeah. And this is the formulation of beliefs, isn't it? And this is,
Yes.
I think we should touch on this. I think this is a powerful subject of how beliefs are formed and how they become part of our process and they become part of our narrative. And that's why we get the traumatic experiences of expectations of how things should be to actually how they are is what causes the disturbance, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think you're right. Looking back at my parents, and they were always happy. I never heard them argue. So they had what my father would call an idyllic marriage. I think he actually wore my mother out because he wanted to do this and go everywhere. But, because she died in 2011 and he lived till 2021. So he said, I'll never get married again. But he had a relationship. He had a girlfriend who was, he thought she was wonderful.
Oh, that Fran. I mean, I'm big into language, so I'm. So for anybody that's missed that, there was a key indicator of Fran did not like the woman, obviously.
We all put up with her because Dad had made this choice, but none of us really liked her. Then things happened over COVID, and her family stopped them from seeing each other because they were wanting to canoodle. And they said, well, you can't do that because you're not allowed to kiss or touch. And my dad said, but we've been together for 7 years. Come on. But they didn't. I think the daughter was jealous of the relationship, to be honest. So anyway, there you go. That stopped. So then he developed a new relationship with this other lady who was lovely. And we all thought she was fantastic. And when he was on his deathbed, she came with me to the hospital and she laid her head on his chest and she was much younger than him and he thought, I'm much too old for her, but she loved him.
Oh.
It was lovely. It was very beautiful. I'm
a sucker for love. I am genuinely a sucker for love. My wife never watches the podcast, but I adore my wife. We have one of those perceptional relationships of we're very idyllic because we do just adore each other. Probably me more to her than she does to me. But I think you're absolutely right. I've just wore her down. I've just wore her down. Oh, that's such a lovely story. So explain if I'm allowed to ask, what does TRTP? Oh, is that what it is? Is that Tessa Richardson Trauma Process? That's what it stands for, isn't it?
Yeah.
My God, you actually told me earlier. I thought it was going to be something. All right, okay. So you said there's an imagination sequence. So is there a visualization? Are you allowed to share what parts of that process? So somebody's going to be watching this and going, right, I need to get in contact with Fran. Fran's the person for me.
Yes, we have a 3-system process. So I do an introduction.
Yeah.
Then I do the next process is the the guided imagination session. Then we do some more guided imagination, but it's going down to core roots and we get rid of stuff. Then we do a looking into the future, also using guided imagination. They get a recording of the first session, not of anything else.
Right. So what,
for
a guided imagination, is that a visualization then? Is it just a different way of...
Yes, it is exciting. So I'll give you a small mini example, the lemon test. Just close your eyes for a second.
Oh, I love the lemon test. Go on.
Just close your eyes for a second and just imagine a big, fat, juicy lemon. You've got a little knobby thing on one end and a little knobby thing on the other, and the skin's not quite smooth. But you put it down on a chopping board and you chop it in half, and the juice just oozes out. And you pick up one of the halves and you chop that into half again. And you pick up one of those wedges and you put it to your mouth and you suck on it. And if you've got a salivation or you go, eek, that was sour, you've got a brilliant imagination and this will work for you.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fran, that was absolutely lovely. So I'm always wanting to get that more out, because you are very literal, Fran. So I love that about you, because I will touch on this now, because I think we're actually talking from the same breath, really, is I've often had people come from not TRTP, but counseling, to coaching. And I wanted us to discuss what's the difference between counseling and coaching, because I'm solution focused and we want to heal it so we can feel it and move forward. We don't want to stay stuck in the pain. But it kind of sounds like you are, with the TRTP process, less counsel and more let's deal.
We don't just listen. This is true. We do listen a lot, but we do a lot of guiding as well. Because if you're just listening, you're not actually, if you're just talking about stuff, it's not getting stuff done.
It's not resolving.
No. So what I do is I'm your guide. I call myself a catalyst, because I give you homework to do. If you don't do the homework, you're not applying yourself. So, for example, I had a chap who was addicted to ketamine. His mum told him to come and see me. So he came and saw me online, because I do a lot of my counselling online. And he sat there and I said, okay, what's your fucked up life look like? And he looked at me.
I love it!
So he tells me, and I reflect it back to him. So I'm just checking, this is what I've heard you say. And he goes, yes. So I said, then what's your fantabulous life would you like it to look like? And he tells me, and I reflect that back to him. And I said, okay, how bad do you want to get from A to B out of 10? Get this, he had to think about it. And he finally came up with the number of 6.5 out of 10. I said, okay, stop right there. That's not enough. I want it for you more than you want it for yourself. So I want you to go away, rethink it, do some meditation on this, think about this, do some embodied declarations, and when you're ready, I'll make an appointment for 3 weeks' time. I want to see you change. That shocked him. He wasn't expecting me to say no. He thought he'd just let mum pay for it all and he'd go through blah, 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 and it would be fine. But it wasn't, because I wasn't going to pay a party for him. So he went away and he thought about it. And just as I was going away, I get this text message. Can we change their appointment, please? Because I'm just checking myself into rehab today. Yes, we certainly can. Brilliant. You've taken action. And from then on, he was improved from step by step.
I love it. There has to be an accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
There really is, Fran. Fran, this was mesmerising. I've learned a new process. I've learned something, and I love to take value away from the chats that I'm having with people, the different modalities. I'm a big believer in EMDR and brain spotting and somatic healing. And I think it's because we've seen the outcomes that people get. But it is sometimes classed as woo-woo. But what I've always noticed, for every process that I've gone through and learned from when I first started with NLP to CBT to life coaching to EMDR, I always often find that the person that created it had tried this, and this, and it kind of worked, but this is what was the next part that was missing. And I that's probably where mind management comes from. I was like, I like some of the techniques from life coaching, I like some of the stuff from NLP, but it's just not all encompassing. And
Yes.
it's definitely a psychosensory model, isn't it, that we're touching into with TRTP process.
It's what's working, basically.
Yeah.
We use a little bit of IFS in it, a bit of parts process sometimes. It depends how far the client goes. That does come into it. A little bit of somatic healing definitely comes into it.
Yeah.
So we've just incorporated that. And obviously, it's an evolving situation. I learn from every single client I do work with.
Yes.
So I'm evolving as we go along because I'm gaining an experience all the time. It's not a by rote system at all. It's individually applied.
I love that how it changes with every. I love that because that's exactly.
It's
Yeah,
not one size fits
it's
all,
not.
is it?
It never is. And there's things I've done with. It's funny because we're talking about it now. It's like, oh, this might be a technique. Oh, I'll do an inner child thing right now because we need to go back to the day before the trauma. Let's talk to that person. Let's resolve that. You see the emotional break just through a visualization, and then they open their eyes and they go, oh my God, what's happened? I'm like, it's just your nervous system. It's flushed. Don't worry about it. It's going to feel weird for a few days. And they come back the week after and they're like, they're not smoking weed anymore. They're not doing the drugs. They're like, oh my God. I said, I know, we just need to find that pinpoint. Just, I love it. I love that, Fran. Thank you so much for sharing a very quick but sweet story today, Fran. Is there anything else you want to share with the world of the Mind Management Mentors podcast about Fran?
I love what I do because I see the change. I see the results coming through when people get their joy back, as I call it. I was talking to a client I spoke to 6 years ago, and she's still singing my praises. I thought, wow, thank you so much. And she said, well, you helped me change my life. And so I think it's a huge privilege to actually help people to get this transformation. So this is something I love. I don't want to overcharge, but I've got to live as well. And I think it's ethically wrong not to be able to help people because I know how to help people. And if I offer it for way too much, then I can't do that.
Yeah.
Because I need to help people. I need to help people get their life back, their joy back.
That's a very honest statement, actually. I need to be able to help. A lot of people wouldn't have that mindset because that brings it back to you a little bit. But that's a very open and honest thing to say, no, I need to help anyone. That's my purpose, that's my goal, that's my why I wake up in the morning.
Yep. When you see people get, as one girlie I had who was, so badly traumatized by shit in the past.
Yeah.
And she'd been held in a psychiatric unit for a whole month just before Christmas. She came to see me in the January and she said, they won't give me an appointment for another year because there's just none available. She was coming from Scotland. So I said, well, I'm here now. So here, let's see what we can do for you. She was self-harming. She was binging. She was OCD. She was suicidal, alcoholic, you name it. She had a whole shitload of stuff going on. She had a fantastic boyfriend who was standing beside her, but she wasn't even washing properly, wasn't self-caring at all. And from the time I started working with her to the time that she did her vision board, which was literally 5 weeks later, she had transformed her whole thing. She would be getting her nails done, her eyebrows were getting done. She's picturing herself as becoming a mum. Whole concept had changed just in 5 short weeks.
I love it.
And I carried on seeing her for a bit until she got support program in place up in Scotland so that she wasn't left dangling. I just need to say, I'm just making sure you're safe. I'm just making sure that you're okay. And she did really well.
I love that. I have something so similar. And we did a podcast, but he didn't want his daughter to see the podcast because of the life that he had, so we took the podcast down, which was perfect. I was like, absolutely, because I double checked a lot of things. And he'd been in a psych ward for 3 years, and he got in contact through the podcast. He actually got in contact through the podcast, and he was several layers of trauma. And we started chatting. I went to his house. He was in a wheelchair. And by the way, the end of the story is I didn't make him walk. I didn't get him walking. Just make sure we're fully aware of that. But we only did 3 sessions because I always do 4 or 8 sessions. I said that should be enough, but we try and get the resolve in the 4. And he went, well, look, I've got a lot of shit to deal with. He said, so I'll do the full 8 package. I said, yeah, not a problem. We got to session 2, and he messaged me, was like, I'm done. I went, I know you are. He went, what are we going to do? I'm like, you actually don't. So let's just do it. Just do a checkup. We'll just do a checkup because we think we're healed and sorted after but the body might go back. Let's just hold off a little bit. And then it came to the 4th session and he went, holy shit, so I've got my life back. And I don't use TRTP, but there's many similar things. And he messaged me about six months ago after about a year away. We went, oh, Cuddy, I'm off to New Zealand. I'm like, absolutely no way. He went, yeah. He says, not only have I got my life back, I'm off to New Zealand. I've saved up my money. I'm going to New Zealand. I've always wanted to do it. And I'm like, he went, I'm living with my daughter. I'm doing some amazing things. I'm like, oh my God. That's the feeling, isn't it? And I always try and manage those. But when you've got those skills and we're like, we just want people to know that they can have exactly as you said, you can get joy back.
Yeah.
And that is why we do it.
Exactly.
And I love that, Fran. And Fran, this was a different podcast because you were very quick to the point on a lot of things, and I loved it. But I am going to say it's been a pleasure meeting you. And thank you very much for being on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. And if there's ever an example of if it's in the mind, it can be managed, Fran, and I'm not going to pronounce her last name, is the example of that. So, Fran, give me your details, send me a picture, we'll put it into the podcast. And please remember, if it's in the mind, it can be managed. You can have the joy back. And as always, big love from Cuddy. And we'll see you on the next episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed.